Hi everyone, and welcome to a new episode of Days Podcast along with a new video. So I just recently made a video talking about Rihanna's auntie. Check that out if anything. Thank you guys so much for the views. Like and subscribe. Of course, there are a couple of Patreon videos. I am currently working on new ones now, so be sure to check that out. Of course, you can listen to everything, whether it's here on YouTube, Patreon, or Spotify. And yes, let's get into this new video. So this new video is about, well, new episode I should say, is about Michael Jackson's History album, Past, Present, and Future, Book 1. I hate there isn't a Book 2, but no, the media and the people that was naysayers, they tried him. So just want to make sure I adjust myself here. So anyway, History, Past, Present, and Future, Book 1 is a double album containing the first non-Motown Greatest Hits album and ninth studio album by Michael Jackson, released on June 20th, 1995. So it was a big deal because it was an album where it's not just a new album, but it's also a Greatest Hits album where it's all his singles pretty much up to date from Off the Wall to pretty much now. Well, in this time history. It was Jackson's fifth album released through Epic Records and the first on his label MJJ Productions. It comprises two discs. History Begins, a greatest hits compilation, and History Continues, comprising new material written and produced by Jackson and collaborators. The album includes appearances by Janet Jackson, Shaquille O'Neal, the Notorious B.I.G. as well. The genres span R&B, pop, and hip-hop with elements of hard rock and funk rock. The themes include environmental awareness, isolation, greed, suicide, injustice, and Jackson's conflicts with the media. So this was him just pretty much, being very current, whether it was at that time, even now. Like listening to this, you would feel like he's still here now, and it's very much a timeless album. It was, of course, disc 1 recorded between 1978 and 1991, but disc 2, these are songs that he was working on since Bad, 1986, yeah. So these are songs that were crafted within Bad that he just said, I'm gonna just hold, and was continuing on working on said tracks throughout years from 1986 to 1995. So he literally was pulling and creating, like just being like, oh, I remember this. No, let's see what we can do with this. Like, he was like, nah, like, I need to make this count. And I appreciate this album very much. Yes. Starting in the late 1980s, Jackson and the tabloid press had a difficult relationship. In 1993, the relationship between Jackson and the press collapsed when he was accused of child sexual abuse. Although he was not charged, Jackson was subject to intense media scrutiny while the criminal investigation took place. Several of the album's 15 new songs pertain to the child sexual abuse allegations made against him in 1993 and Jackson's perceived mistreatment by the media, mainly the tabloids. Because of this, History has been described as Jackson's most personal album, and it is. People thought Bad was. People thought Dangerous was where he was just really letting us know, like, this is how I feel, but no, it was this. This was like pre-planned, because Bad, like I've said in the Bad commentary, it was gonna be similar like this. It'd have just a couple of new tracks and here you go. This is a step further with a name and a meaning behind it, and yes, why not? History debuted at number 1 on the Billboard 200s chart in the United States and in 19 other countries. 7 singles were released, including the protest songs Earth Song and They Don't Care About Us. Scream, a duet between Jackson and his sister Janet, became the first song to debut in the top 5 of the US Billboard Hot 100, reaching number 5. You Are Not Alone was the first song in history to debut at number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100. It was also Jackson's final #1 single on that chart. So this was his last #1 song. You'd Think You'd Rock My World went #1. But we'll get into that in the next, well, not, I wouldn't say next video, but in the commentary for Invincible, we will get into that. We are talking about it. Though the album received generally positive reviews, the lyrics of They Don't Care About Us drew accusations of anti-Semitism. Jackson said they had been misinterpreted and replaced them on later pressings of the album. Jackson later embarked on the History World Tour, which grossed $165 million, equivalent to $313 million in 2023, making it the highest grossing solo concert tour of the 1990s. It was Jackson's third and final concert tour as a solo artist. So this wasn't, he stopped touring after this. He just did not tour no more. I mean, he made appearances and did, he did shows, but like full on tours like this, like world tour type thing, like he was kind of not feeling it no more. And he didn't even come to the US. The only time he really did was at the Bad tour. Just kind of reeling back into the Bad tour. Yeah, like he's been all around the US, went overseas, came back, and just started working on Dangerous. And of course, he wanted to make sure he did that when it came to the Dangerous tour. But of course, with me reading allegations going crazy, he was like, you know what, I'm gonna go overseas. They appreciate me more. And it's true. Unfortunately, here we give music and it can vary based on the listener. But overseas, when they love it, they fucking love it. They don't switch up. No, I love you. That's it. Oh, they're talking about this about you? Oh, all right. Well, I love you. Like, for real. And the thing about it is, me being a Michael Jackson fan, I don't believe these allegations. I don't believe he was doing these things that they were talking about. And I think when he got to the crossroads, which we can talk about in a Patreon video, of just where this was forming. It's like, all right, I need to really do something, because I can't just sit around and have these people just pinpoint my life as if they know me. They don't know me. I know me. So this was a testament of that. And the album has sold over 20 million copies worldwide, making it one of the best-selling albums of all time. So, I would say Off the Wall should be included, but from Thriller to this, History, from Thriller to History, he's in the top 10, if not top 20, but him being already #1 as it is, or #2 of best-selling albums of all time. So it's just like, it's just, he's amazing. And one of the best-selling multi-disc albums of all time. In August 2018, it was certified 8 times platinum by the Recording Academy. It was nominated for 5 Grammy Awards at the 1996 Grammys, including Album of the Year, winning Best Music Video, Short Form for Scream. So he won for Scream, and so did Janet. So it's just like, I to me feel like that was that completed what was able to be completed for their relationship at the time, because she was rising, he was already here, and so it's just like, in the midst of when she was really at a peak of where, I'm really about to just really go off, she was like, no, let me check on my brother. And as she should have, because and even in the world that we're in right now, because this is about almost 30 years ago, not everybody's close with their family, and it happens. But whoever you are close with, and if you can mend those relationships, it's worth it. Life's too short. Yes, Jackson won an American Music Award for Favorite Pop Rock Male Artist at the 1996 American Music Awards. Yes. So pretty much, yeah, there was so much going on by the mid 90s, and the content itself, History was Jackson's first studio album since his 1991 album Dangerous, and his first new material after being accused of child sex abuse. And that's a shame, because like I told you, he had to really come out swinging, because the accusations just was weird. It compromises 2 discs. History Begins, which is a compilation of songs from Jackson's albums Off the Wall, Thriller, Bad, and Dangerous. The second compromises of new material from January 1994 to March 1995. So when you look at this timeline, and yes, I'll say it, on May 26th, he had got married. So he had got married in the midst of writing as well. And, by that fall, it was Lisa, Miss Presley, rest in peace to her as well. There was just a lot going on. Although one of the songs, a cover of Beatles' Come Together, has been recorded as early as 1986. As far as with talking more on just in-depth his life and accusations and all that, we will leave that to YouTube. I mean, not YouTube, Patreon. We are on YouTube, I'm sorry. So yes, the music videos that were, made for these songs. So let's look at the track list, because the critical reception, generally positive reviews, and someone as far as John Perez of New York Times wrote that it has been a long time since Michael Jackson was simply a performer. He's the main asset of his own corporation, which is a profitable subsidiary of Sony. Some reviewers commented on the unusual format of a new studio album being accompanied by a greatest hits collection, with Q magazine saying, from the new song's point of view, it's like taking your dad with you into a fight. James Hunter, Rolling Stone, gave History 4 out of 5, and found that it unfolds in Jackson's outraged response to everything he has encountered in the last year or so. Hunter felt it was an odd, charmless second chapter compared to Jackson's earlier hits. However, he described this time around as a dynamite jam that was ripe of remixes, and Scream and Tabloid Junkie as adventurous. Let's look at the track list. So disc 1, okay, because there's 30 tracks, I believe. Yep, 15 each. He was not playing, he gave you content. So back in the 90s, I'm glad y'all were buying the album, because 30 tracks, his sister a few years prior did 27, but when you say 30, it's like just as much when it comes to her, like, no, you getting music, you getting content, okay? And I said that in her video for Janet as well, like, you're getting content with this 1993 album, okay? So yes, track 1, Billie Jean. And it's good that I'm kind of doing this now, because now I can kind of reflect back to those previous videos where I did commentary on each of these albums, and now picking out, the songs at the time. You get it. So Billie Jean was the first one, which was released with Thriller. The Way You Make Me Feel, which was from Bad. Black or White, which is from Dangerous. Rock With You, which is from Off the Wall. So this sequence right here, these first 4 tracks, that's wild, because that's 4 different eras, right? You jump into what you know from just, if you're, going from back then, over 10 years ago. It's like, all right, Billie Jean, all right, we going off. Then it's The Way You Make Me Feel, where it takes you up a bit, like, okay, we're getting a little older here. Then we get to recent, where it's like Black or White. It's like, okay. But then we reel back. We go back to Rock With You. And it's like, okay. I'm not sure who did the track list, most likely him, but he knew what he was doing. Rock with You, yes. With being 4, you have She's Out of My Life, which is like diving us still into Off the Wall. And then we just jump into Bad from She's Out of My Life. And I remember listening to this track list as a kid, and I'm like, it's not whether you can tell whether when he was younger or older, it just comes together. Like, it just comes together. I Just Can't Stop Loving You from Bad is track 7, and then 8 is Man in the Mirror from Bad as well. And then he jumps right back into Thriller, which is Thriller being number 9. And I remember going to number 9 being like, all right, it's Thriller. And then Beat It, which is track 10. The Girl Is Mine, which is track 11. Remember the Time, which is track 12. And I find that really cool to go from The Girl Is Mine to Remember the Time, because it's like, now I'm really telling you, like, we've been together. Like, where are you at? Okay. Track 13 is Don't Stop Till You Get Enough. 14 is Wanna Be Starting Something. And then 15 is Heal the World. The only thing that I was upset about when it came to this greatest hits track list, where's Human Nature? I'm sorry. I just, even if that was before Heal the World and right after Wanna Be Starting Something, like, where's Human Nature? I love that song. You guys will hear me say that. I love that song. I'm sorry. But yes, track disc 2, History Continues. We start off with Scream with Janet. Now, this is a great song, great video, black and white, gaming, anime, futuristic, space, just abstract aesthetic, Japanese aesthetic, just amazing, just, and it was, of course, expensive, but you say to yourself, like, that's a once in a lifetime thing, and from recent tellings from Miss Jackson, she had said she didn't get to really spend as much time with him during that song, in which I know that she now and even then appreciates that it even happened, because they needed it. They love each other. They wanted something together. They wasn't sure how, because creatively they were in so many different spaces. So it was just, they wanted to do this, and I'm grateful. And then there's footage where they're literally in the process of writing it, like, together, like, chilling. And it's not often you get to see, celebrities just be themselves and just really make people aware, like, I have a status, but that's it. Like, they're people just like us. They are. And which leads into the second track. They don't care about us. And I think that's just very much direct. It's not whether it's more or less religion or more or less, like, it's not more or less of anything. It's amongst a lot of things that he wanted to address. And he wanted to make sure people understood, like, we're in a really delicate time. People are getting hurt. Children are not being safe and are not being kept safe. There's in him wanting to emphasize that on the fact that he doesn't like it is letting the people know, like, why would y'all accuse me? And Stranger in Moscow, third track, that when I listen to that, among others that I love and care about who also tell me that song is amazing and they love it, it's a really chill song. It's a really good vibe, and he says a lot in that song. You just gotta listen to him, and he wrote it himself. Same with They Don't Care About Us. This Time Around, great song as well. Earth Song, he was, what about, like, no. He's letting you know, like, what's going on. Like, even in 2024, when you listen to this, what's going on? Like, what's going on? Like, what got y'all out here going through changes? What's happening? Really? Like, what is it? Because if it ain't as deep as, people that are not currently okay in other places, then you need to get that money up and let's help the world. That's what he wants to, he's been saying that. And DS, that's a good song too. Money. Come Together. You Are Not Alone, the #1 ballad. And he actually showed his wife. He said, I'm showing my wife. I have this shortcut. I'm in a new era. I am stripped down because I need people to understand, like, I am me. Like, I don't need to, do as much now as what I've already done. But it is a plus when I do, because y'all know I'm going to come back and do what I need to do, okay? And he was that guy for that, Childhood, that's very telling. Just, being aware of just how innocent children are. Like, it's just an innocent you may have been at one point, like it's real. Tabloid junkie, that's pretty much, the name saying it for itself. Like, these tabloids, like, what's going on? Like, why are you bothering me? Leave me alone. Too bad. That's track 12, same thing. History, track 13. Little Susie. Now, I didn't really get to listen to Little Susie too much, but I know it's a meaningful song based on the title. And then Smile. But yeah, guys, like, it's just really something when you kind of look at history, But yes, he went #1 pretty much everywhere with this album. This was the album that people weren't ready for. They didn't even know he was coming back because they was listening to Dangerous, but listening to all these other artists that were just coming out left and right. So that when he came back, it was like, oh, shoot, Michael? Okay, because it's Michael, So, U.S. top R&B hip-hop albums, #1. Billboard 200, #1. UK, #1, whether it's R&B or just regular UK. Swiss #1. Japan said #3. Okay, Japan was like, listen, we just needed a few more listens. New Zealand #1, Norwegian #1, Scottish #1, and so that'd be the thing. Like, these people understand what he's saying, and they feel for him. And all these other countries saying #1, and they's talking about they don't care about us by track 2. You think they ain't feeling that pain? They feel that pain. That's real pain. And it's sad because it's still going on in 2024. We got to do something about it. He would want us to. Seriously. But yeah, that's the end of our video and episode. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I'll be back with more.